Hello and welcome back to another video. Welcome back to the YouTube channel and welcome back to Premier League Countdown. This is the second day, and obviously we're going in chronological, like alphabetic order of the table. So yesterday you saw the Bournemouth episode. I hope you guys enjoyed that. We've currently just hit 400 subscribers, so I'd like to say thank you very much for 400 subscribers. I'm going to have a Q&A on Sunday. If you want to ask me questions, be there on the live or go on the community page and go on the latest post and ask a question there. And yeah, we're talking about Arsenal today because Arsenal were the second team within the table, technically on alphabetical order. And yeah, this in the title says, "Is this Arsenal's year to break Man City's dominance?" Obviously, Man City have four-peated, and we'll talk about Man City when it's time to talk about Manchester City. But Arsenal have been second twice in a row. Last season, doing it a bit differently, how they did the previous season, instead of completely playing attacking throughout the whole season. They've managed to switch it up last season and try and play a bit different away from home, really grind results out at grounds that they don't really get results at, such as the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, Old Trafford, and Anfield as well. They still haven't won a trophy under Mikel Arteta, apart from the FA Cup when he took over Unai Emery's team. So it's going to be interesting to see if Arsenal take the cup serious. I don't think they will. I think they'll be going for the Champions League and Premier League. But I do think it's a good idea to keep the cup serious as well, in my opinion. With Arsenal now, it's what do they do to close in on Man City and break their dominance? Now, in my opinion, from an outsider looking in, as much as Calafiori is a good signing, I think the priority should have been a midfielder and a striker. Now, they are linked to Mikel Merino. Fabrizio Romano has recently linked Arsenal to that. Apparently, that's their next almost target to go for. I haven't really seen them linked with a striker that's anything concrete. I know they've been linked to a lot of strikers, like Osimhen, like Tony, like Gyökeres, but it doesn't look like they're going to move for them anytime soon. I know that everyone has pretty much dropped their interest in Ivan Toney. All the big teams have dropped their interest, from what I know. Gyökeres, he really likes to play under Ruben Amorim, so I'm not sure they're going to get that. And Osimhen's definitely not on the table anymore. I mean, they were linked like last year, but he looks to be not staying at Napoli. He looks to be going to PSG. But apparently talks are also not advancing there, so he might actually just have to stay at Napoli because he has been linked with Chelsea as well. But we'll see about that. Obviously, Calafiori is a great signing, but did they need it? I'm not too sure. But it does put strength in numbers within the defensive aspect. Obviously, it looks like Jakub Kiwior has been linked with the move away, and he looks like to be the defender that Calafiori will be replacing, as he is a left footer that can play centre back and left back as well. Obviously, I don't think Jakub Kiwior is that bad. I don't think he's been given much of a chance, to be honest with you. I don't think he's like the greatest defender in the world, but he can definitely do a job as a squad player, a player to come in when someone is injured. Tomiyasu is injured, for example, as well. Like, he would have been one of the strength in numbers in defence. I think they should be selling Zinchenko. Then again, Zinchenko will give you something different. Like if you need to switch it up and play one inverted fullback or whatever, and someone more creative instead of four centre backs. But I don't think Zinchenko is needed, and I don't think Zinchenko can be relied upon if you want to win the league. But at the same time, let's say if Zinchenko stays, he probably won't start. I think this will be his last year in an Arsenal shirt. I don't think it's been a terrible signing, but he has this. But like with Zinchenko, you've got to take the highs with the incredible lows at the same time. So you're never really going to get a full-on consistent fullback either. Obviously, if we look at Arsenal's defence, it's got great strength in numbers. So Calafiori now, obviously Kiwior if he stays, and let's say Zinchenko if he stays. Kieran Tierney's still there, but I think he'll probably go. As much as Kieran Tierney's also kind of injury prone, like I think he's a great player, honestly. Same with Tomiyasu, to be honest. Gabriel, Saliba, I think I'm missing someone. Jurriën Timber and Ben White. Obviously, Jurriën Timber is going to be a revelation for Arsenal. I think he's going to be the starting left back, mainly because Ben White, Saliba, and Gabriel cemented their places within their defence, and Timber will almost act like a new signing. I know a lot of people don't like that phrase, and even I don't like that phrase, but he will act like a good signing, act like a new signing only because he only played 45 minutes, I think, last season. I think he came on actually against Everton in the last game of the season, but he only played against Nottingham Forest. He played literally the first game of the season and the last game of the season, and that was it. unfortunately for himself, he got injured in the first game, and it was kind of sad because he's a great player. Obviously, from my point of view, I don't want Arsenal to win the league, so it is what it is. But that's a great signing. But that's only going to come into play within this season. I think Jurgen Timber is just so composed on the ball, great with both feet, great under pressure, can play across the defense and midfield as well. So he's going to be very useful throughout the season. I think Arsenal are good at signing versatile players, but I think with this one it's a bit different. With Timber and Ben White, they're the few versatile players where I look, I'm like, you're actually sick in most positions that you play in. You're actually really good in most positions that you play in general. Now, if we look further ahead of the defense, obviously we've got the midfielders to talk about. Obviously Declan Rice, Thomas Partey, Jorginho, Odegaard, Fabio Vieira. Emil Smith Rowe is leaving. Um, Odegaard's a great player. I think 2 years ago, well, nearly 2 years ago now, within the 22-23 season, I was looking at this guy. I'm like, you are playing well, but you've got a level to go up. Like, there's something in you where I think you could go up a level. Like, you've got more to do. And I think last season you saw that. Even in the first half of the season, where Arsenal weren't at their best. If I'm being completely honest, they lost like 5 games, and 4 of them were right at the start. Um, in fact, I don't even know if they lost a game between January and May. I think they lost all their games in the first half of the season. I could be wrong. I'm trying to think. Aston Villa, Newcastle. I can't remember. Oh no, they lost to Aston Villa twice. They lost to Aston Villa again in the second half of the season. That was their only loss, and that was at home. Even in the first half of the season, where they were losing quite a few games, Erdogan was still one of the main guys that were pulling Arsenal through, dictating play, finding passes that not many players can find in the Premier League. He's probably their best player, if I'm being 100% honest. Odegaard, Saliba, Rice, and Trossard, Saka. Those are the 5 players that come to mind when it comes to Arsenal. Like, not in that order necessarily, but those are probably the best 5. But maybe Trossard doesn't get there, but Trossard's really good, and we'll talk about Trossard in a sec. But Odegaard's the creative guy. If luckily for Arsenal, Odegaard doesn't get injured. If he was to get injured, Arsenal would look like a whole different team. He makes the football in that side. Like, he creates a shitload of chances, and this is the thing. Like, we talk about world class players. I don't think he's a world class player yet, but I think if there's anyone that's going to be a world class player for Arsenal, it's going to be Martin Odegaard. If we look at the other piece of the midfield, I think when they signed Declan Rice, they didn't really know how to use him, only because Rice is the lone 6. He can still play there. I believe he can. But my problem was, and I get, well, other people's problem was the fact that maybe he's not as, thought provoking when it comes to passing as much as Thomas Partey was in that position. But when they were playing Rice as almost as an 8, as I've been telling people, Rice is an 8. Jorginho playing deeper helped. It helped the football. It helped Arsenal dictate play again and dictate games and keep possession. And having Rice as the extra body forward may not be the most mad box to box midfielder, but where he can drive with the ball and still pepper teams with chances. Like the goal against Chelsea where Trossard scored is the kind of positions you actually want Declan Rice to be in. And also off the ball, it makes Arsenal so much more difficult to break down because he's an extra body physically, and he can help out Jorginho in that aspect as well. It makes him so much harder to break down. Also, set pieces and height come into play, and like signing all these centre backs, is a bit of terrorism football, but it's also really helps Arsenal in terms of winning set pieces from their end, attacking wise, defending set pieces as well, but also just winning duels in general. And that's a big success to why they've been so good at set pieces with their set piece coach as well. And they're probably going to be the kings of set pieces again next season, but a lot of teams are going to have to watch that in terms of how Arsenal attack from set piece. And the thing is with these set piece coaches as well, like Aston Villa and Brentford do this as well. They will find a different way to have to attack from a set piece every game, because they look at other teams' weaknesses, and that's very important. Of course it is. But it's going to be interesting to see let's say Mikel Merino, if he signs, and that would be a good signing in my opinion. Like probably not. I'm not going to overhype the signing like Arsenal fans do, but if you look at that signing, for example, it's going to be interesting to see if it's going to be a Rice, Marino, Erdogan midfield, and see if they revert back to Rice being a lone six, or I don't know why they signed Marino for that position, but I think it's difficult to know whether they want a six or an eight depending on where they play Declan Rice. Like if you're going to play Declan Rice six, you need an eight. If you're going to play Declan Rice eight, you need a six because Partey's still there, Jorginho's still there, so they're probably going to sign Marino as an eight, and Rice and Marino maybe be the options at number eight, but they're also going to play together. So will that still hinder them in possession, or will Jury and Timber help that whilst played inverted almost? And Ben White's a very underrated player, by the way. And I wouldn't say very underrated player in general, but just within that Arsenal team, you always hear the same players get the same amount of plaudits, but Ben White always goes under the radar for some reason. I actually was one of the few people that said that was a good signing, even as a centre back. But he's become a whole different beast at right back because it was similar to how he played under Graham Potter at Brighton, almost in that three in the back position at times. And Ben White's been great. Probably was best right back last season, if I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head who was better than him. But Ben White was probably the best performer right back last season. And he's going to have another great season again. And speaking of the right-hand side, Bukayo Saka, is he going to have a better season than last season? Because I wouldn't even say that it was Bukayo Saka's best season last season. I think 2 years ago he was sensational, but last season it wasn't he wasn't himself. And that might be because he played too many games. I think he's been run into the ground by Mikel Arteta, and I think they need to watch the amount of games he actually gets, the amount of minutes he actually gets. Like constant 90-minute games, and even when Arsenal are battering teams and the games are done, are you going to take up Bukayo Saka enough? He doesn't always do that, and he's obviously played a lot in the Euros as well. But the thing is, for Saka, he looks like he's going to be burnt out at some point. Like these players that play every game, play in every competition, and play in international football, play like 100 games a season or whatever it is, are barely going to have a break. They get a month break and then they're back to football. The fact that they don't even get burnt out mentally, I know they're professionals, but the fact that they don't get burnt out mentally is amazing in itself, in my opinion. With Bukayo Saka as well, obviously a great player, can go in and out, in and the outside, etc. But I feel like he wasn't himself last season. And if he keeps playing these games all the time, I'm sorry, it can only get worse. But I think he'll start the season really well next season. But it just is all up in the air whether he'll carry that on throughout the whole season. Especially in the first half of last season, it was awful for me. It wasn't great. He didn't look himself. He didn't look sharp. Didn't look the Bukayo Saka we know of. But at their best, Erdogan and Saka linking up down that right-hand side can really damage teams and open up teams. So we'll see what happens from there. Someone that's really fallen off a cliff as well is Gabriel Martinelli. With Martinelli, it's almost a fact of what has happened sort of thing. But I will say this, I do think Martinelli benefited more off Xhaka and Zinchenko left-hand side, like attacking-wise. I think when they went to the four centre-backs and there's no Granit Xhaka there, I think Trossard benefited off that more. He was just suited to the players he was playing with. Whereas Martinelli needed a Xhaka to help him down that left-hand side. And we'll see if he has a better season and he goes back to the Martinelli that we actually know of. I don't think Martinelli's the best player like that Arsenal can get. I think that you can definitely upgrade there, but like it wasn't that long ago where Martinelli was having a great season and he was giving defenders hell 1v1. But it looks like Trossard probably should be the starting left winger. They probably do need another left winger, but I don't think that's going to happen either. That's the thing. If Arsenal don't get the players in the positions that they really need, such as the left wing, striker, midfielder, mainly midfielder and striker, then I don't see them winning the league. I don't see them breaking Manchester City's duck. Now, going to the striker position, I don't know who they are going to sign as a striker. I do think Ivan Toney is the answer, but I've always liked Ivan Toney. I think Ivan Toney is a very great all-rounded striker in general, but I don't think that's going to ever going to happen. I don't think you could go into another season with Kai Havertz and Gabriel Jesus as your striker options. Apparently, Enquiries is going to Marseille, so we'll put that aside. Let's again, Trossard 49 can work. Listen, Havertz had a great last 2 months of the last season. I think people seem to forget that wasn't the whole season of Kai Havertz. But Kai Havertz is a very moments player again. He's another one of them players that will do well in moments. He's not really someone that can do well for a whole season. We've seen this guy is quite a purple patch player. And listen, purple patch players seem to make it far in this league and get a lot of plaudits for some reason, but I don't think Kai Havertz is the guy. I don't think he's even going to have as good of a 2 months as he did last season. Like, if you watch Kai Havertz in the Euros, that's the Kai Havertz we know. Missing sitters constantly and just scoring penalties. He's a great penalty taker. But I don't think Kai Havertz as your striker again is going to work. But that's what it is. What it is. I think if I was to make an early prediction, Arsenal will probably finish second again. But I'll give you all my predictions when I do my Premier League predictions. But yeah, listen, that is it from me. Make sure to like the video. Make sure to subscribe if you want to. GVO Mics, as you see at the bottom, is my social platforms. And there's also the YouTube as well. So make sure to follow and subscribe to all of them. The social medias are in the description if you want to follow me, and the email for the inquiries. We're trying to hit 500 subscribers before the end of the year, as it says now at the bottom. So if you make that happen, that'll be great as soon as possible. And yeah, I'll see you guys later. Goodbye.